Basically, what I'm going to show you today, the focus definitely is going to be around Copilot Studio and using Copilot Studio with MCP Model Context Protocol. But you need to know the story behind it. So basically, if you attend conferences, whether as a speaker like myself, as a David, some of you on the call here as well, or as an attendee, which I flip into attendee mode right after all of my sessions are done, there's several different challenges that you face, and either as a speaker, one could be that your session overlaps with somebody else, or the intro session comes after the advanced session, and conference organizers don't know. And as an attendee, you want to make sure that you set yourself up for success by going to intro, to intermediate, to advanced, or making sure that you don't miss a speaker that you're interested in. So I thought about a solution as a demo to demonstrate MCP and Copilot Studio and Declarative Agent. I said, let me try and solve a real problem. So that's exactly what this does. It tries to solve that real problem. And it incorporates MCP Server. It incorporates Microsoft Graph in terms of doing this by allowing you to see all of the conferences and book something against your calendar. So that's where we're going to start. But in order to get there, and I would love if we can see the let me go ahead and actually do my slideshow now, since I've done that. If I can see the, oh my God, hold on. I want to see the screen. Give me a second. Move this down. If I can see by show of either thumbs up or whatever, how many people here know what MCP is, Model Context Protocol? Give me thumbs ups or, okay, all right. There you go, to a couple people. All right. Okay. All right. So a few people know what MCP is. If you don't know what MCP is, I highly encourage you to start thinking about Model Context Protocol, because one of the things that it does, it gives you a great scale engine in terms of allowing any of your AI solutions to be able to take advantage of that. And it's like build once, use many times. So for today, we're going to, and let me actually start my timer. I meant to start my timer so I don't run over and Vesta kill me. Give me a second again. And timer.
I would never, Fabian. I would never.
All right. So we're going to cover these materials here today, and we're going to go forward. So let me start off by saying, the first thing you should do is take a picture of this page. This page right here, or do a screenshot. I know David is definitely going to have his screenshot social post afterwards. But while you're here, grab this, because almost everything I'm doing here today is publicly available. So you can actually do this on your own right afterwards. But so what's MCP? For those who didn't raise their hands, I would say consider it the USB for AI. You plug it in and it should just work everywhere. And that's the idea behind MCP. That is the goal of MCP. That is the reason why I think it is actually a great solution. Now, the key word is the last word that's inside your protocol. It is a protocol, right? So because it's a protocol, you can use it in many different ways. You can be a strict adherent to what the protocol does. You can tweak it. You can make it work. That is why you see things like what Claude is doing, like Claude Skills. You see other people doing their different versions of MCP. But in the end, it is a protocol. So take that, for what it's worth. Now, when you think about MCP, the best way to grok this, the best way to really get your head around it, is thinking about it in terms of the three things that it does. I use the word here primitives here, just being as a coding reference, but it's just the three things that it does, which is tools, resources, and prompts. And in terms of what it does, it also have personas that are there to, or basically who's in control. Now, for a lot of what you do in an MCP, it's all about getting tools in front of the user through the client that they're going to be using. So the client in one case could be Copilot Studio. The client could be BizChat. The client could be Claude, as you see in this example. The client can be something local like LM Studio. But basically, there's going to be a client that is going to be MCP aware. And because it's MCP aware, it understands, that there's some tools available to it. Now, the tools are model control. So the model has to be a reasoning model that's able to do tools, tool call or tool support. So some models, are not like that. They're like the little lighter weight models, the one that are quant size, but you can actually get quant size models that are also be able to do reasoning and also, tool calls. So that's the key thing. It needs to be able to call the tool, and the model will be able to say, you know what, the user sent this prompt or this utterance. I am capped at this time and this date, and I need to find out some more information. Are there tools available? Oh, this tool's available from this MCP server. Let me use it. The other thing is resources. So resources, are app controlled, right? So that's now within the app itself. So you may see this from, if you use Copilot Studio already, how you can actually add knowledge, and you can actually add a PDF file, a Word doc, a SharePoint library, whatever. Think of this now as what's grounding the data. So, now, as I mentioned before in the previous example, where I said that, the model itself is capped by this date, resources allow you to now, think a little bit more now into current date. So I can put something in there like, today's, forecast of something, so I can understand what today's weather is. Or in a work example, you can put what today's policy guidance is. We're in the month of November, December right now. So this is like, if you're in the United States, it's open enrollment for like, for your healthcare. So every time around this year, that policy would change. So if you have an MCP tool that is catered towards your benefits program, you would definitely put a new policy guidance in there as a resource that it can use, and the app controls that. Now, if you're the user, you also have a say in this, and that's the prompt. The user controls the prompt. It decides what to ask and how to ask it, and then that carries the workflow forward. So those three things basically govern what MCP is. Now, again, because we're going to be super focused on Copilot Studio today, I want to show. Oh, you know what? I should talk about this. If before a lot of you joined the call, I was, we're, riffing before the call, and I said, "Hey, Vesa, guess what? My tenant with Copilot, with my Copilot license expired, during the week, and I don't know what hoops you guys have to jump through in your workplace, but we have to jump through some hoops here to get that license back, and I haven't gotten it back yet. So for my runtime demo, I'm going to be showing you a 1 minute video of it working previous to it breaking, but I'll actually do the design time with you up to the point where on our system here at Microsoft, I'm going to get hit with a policy that prevents me from actually going all the way through. So just putting that up front. But for the purposes of the screenshot and for the video, I want to make sure that we have something here that really highlights it. So if you're in Copilot Studio and you're starting to build your agent, or the agent is already built, if you're not starting net new, under the tools menu, if there's no tools available, you can do add tool. But under the tools menu, you're able to add additional tools. And some of the tools that you can add, if you look at the right hand side on the bottom, you'll see Model Context Protocol, or MCP. And that's where we're going to start. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that custom connectors, what you see on the bottom left, can also work with if you have an MCP server, you can actually do a custom connector to that MCP server as well, but you won't get the richness of what MCP gives you right off the bat. For one, if you do a custom connector, even if you have an MCP server, you're going to need to have an open API specification of that MCP server to show the tools and the endpoints that it can call. Whereas if you have an MCP server, it'll just automatically get it right off the bat. So that's just something key to know. It's one of those gotchas that are there. But if you once you have the MCP server, and we'll actually go through the design time experience of how to do this, you be able to do tools, put in the URL and some description, and once it's done, it'll show up right here under your tools. And when you expand tools, for the amount of tools that are there, they'll be displayed right here for you. And these are the tools that when you do a call, when you provide that prompt inside your client, these tools will be available. And I should also emphasize that you'll notice at the very top, it says enabled, and you notice right here, you have this check mark here. If you don't want all of the tools to be available to your end users, you have the ability to selectively determine which one you turn on and turn off, but it is all set to auto discover. So if you don't do that, then they're all going to light up. Why is this important? You as an administrator or as a person running this, you may not want to give people too much power, you want to give you the LLM too much control, so you can selectively turn things off. And when it's running now in the runtime experience, if you can see on the right-hand side here, you can see me asking, what does Kevin McDonald, and I even spelled his name wrong as well, have any sessions at ESPC, European SharePoint Conference, that previously was in Dublin, Ireland. And you can see it returned actually 2 coming back and so on and so forth. But we'll actually get this experience. But something to pay attention to, again, inside the Copilot Studio environment, you'll notice that as you're running it, you can see it does, the utterance came in, it realized that there's an MCP server there. It made the MCP tool call. It lists all the conferences, and then it basically did a search for a session. So it did all of that behind the scenes in order to to come up with this answer. So how did I build this? Which is the idea here today. It was actually not very hard, right? And if you're building APIs already as a developer, it's not much of a leap in order to make this there. But even if you're not a professional developer, with today's tooling like GitHub Copilot and all the other tools that are, you can literally, I want to use the word vibe code, but you can work with an assistant, a coding assistant to get here today. And I did this in the span of maybe 2 weeks to create from idea to something that was production ready out there that you can actually use today if you're hitting some of those URLs. Mind you, all of the sessions that are there are all historical right now. So I haven't put all this stuff inside there as yet. So depending on how you're asking your questions, you might not get a good result, but it should change after today. But the point here, though, is that if you build it using MCP, all of these client layers are available to you, right? So again, we talked about scaling. So you could be definitely using Copilot, as we're going to be doing today, but you can do a web interface. You can be in ChatGPT, could be in VS Code, you could be in Claude Desktop, and you can have an MCP server that is basically funneling this up to you. Now, because of the work that I'm doing here now at Microsoft, which is all around observability and extensibility, I wanted to show you that experience that was also built as a part of this as well. Otherwise, I probably could have done this inside 1 week. But I have observability built in, and I'll take this moment just to tell people that if you're building solutions that are agentic, always put observability inside your solution as well. If not for your users, which will definitely want it because it allows them to have confidence in what they're seeing coming back to them, because they can see what's going on, and they did this, they can see, oh, this tool call was called and this result came back. I have full confidence in it. It can also be helpful for you as an owner and as a product manager, as a stakeholder, because you can also see what's going on. But not only that, the one thing that is certain, as we build agentic solutions, is that the model will always improve, right? So, we started off with GPT 3.0. Now we're at basically 5.1, 5.2, right? And even if you did nothing, the fact that you change the model means that questions that you may ask previously that may come back with good answers may now not come back with good answers because the model has changed. So the reason why observability is important here is because then you can basically have evals as a part of that observability workflow, where you're checking the tool calls, you're logging things, but you're also giving it to evals and you're testing the utterances and the responses all the way up. So we had evals built in. Now, above that, we have our data layer, which is basically Azure SQL database, Graph API, and my environment variables inside a Key Vault. But all of this basically runs through, these, methods: a search of a session, listing the conferences, getting a particular session, and then sending a calendar invite, and everything runs off that. I'm going to thumb through this here in the interest of time. We don't need to really spend a lot of time there. But the architecture was all built inside Microsoft Azure. On, as you can see here, a lot of container applications. Now, you may ask yourself, why container apps? Previously, if you saw me a year or two ago, you'd hear me talking a ton about, Azure functions and durable functions and stuff like that, which has its place. But because MCP, depending on the client that you're using, is always polling, where's MCP server? What tools does it have? if you're doing function apps and you're not doing an app service plan, which is always hot, always on, which costs a lot of money, you're going to get into these cold start situation. And a container app doesn't have that problem. It's always hot, it's always open. You pay a little bit more, but it won't flake out on you. You won't have basically a connection error for MCP polling. And as you can see here, this is basically the lion's share of it. Besides the SQL Server database, it's basically all container apps and a static web app for the website. So when you're building an MCP server, in particular this one in the V1, it is, as again, it's quite simple. This one was done in Python. You guys have access to the repo. It's all out there, so I won't milk this too much, but it's literally not a very few files. A database file, a description file, and that's basically it. A lot of this, if you think about it, is not really hard coding. Is basically describing what the prompt is supposed to achieve and what the MCP server is supposed to return. And obviously, graph is your friend here as well if you're building something for M365. So whatever you built before in M365 in terms of your graph solutions, it's a little bit of a tweak to make it MCP enabled. So we'll pause here and we'll actually come over here and actually take a look at the design time experience. Obviously, if you're building something, you come here and you do, create a blank agent, which gets you to here. But in the interest of time, again, you have a name of your agent. You have a description that's there. You want your description to be representative of what it's supposed to do. Because remember, the client is going to decide, remember, in MCP world, you have the tools, the resources, and the prompts. In order for it to know what the tools are there, it needs to know which MCP server to call. In order to know that, it needs to have good description and good instructions. These instructions that you see here are basically simple cut and paste from what you see here, which is also openly available to you as well. And I'll do this Control-C, and I'll come here, and I'll drop it inside chat, Control-V here, so you can actually click on it. Come on, click on it here. This is something I shared for everyone to basically use. And that's what you see inside here. But if I come here and do tools, and I do add a tool, and I do new tool, and I do MCP server, and I come here and I do conf, and I give it a good description here. I'll just grab the description from, it's gone now. I'll just make up something real stupid real quickly, because it's not going to work anyway. Blah, blah, blah. And I come here and I do HTTPS MCP dot MCP. This is going to basically create it. Now, I'll tell you this. You can also have authentication tied to this. Mine is wide open, but OAuth 2 is what you'll be doing if you're doing Microsoft Graph. So if you wanted to do an MCP server that ties to Graph, you definitely want to do this here. So if I do create right now, it should basically hit this URI endpoint. Oh, yeah. True. Very true. I hope I don't have to go ahead and delete it and come back in again, but it is already created once already. Okay, so this should come back and actually say, boom, it's here. But when I try to do the connection, it will fail because of a policy that we have here at Microsoft. Okay, so we can see it's been created, but if I come here now and say create a connection, here is where it is going to fail for me, right? Because of a policy. However, if I come here now and actually bring this over to here and come down to here and do this experience, and trust me, we call it Vesa. This is the last thing. All right, so play. So this is going to be the runtime experience. Conference Haven, this is already built. You'll see, I'm going to be talking about the tools, the exact same thing that you saw a while ago, the same tools. This is the Conference Haven MCP server, as you can see here. That's the connection has been made and it is enabled for us. And once that's done, now I should be able to, to look and see the tools that are there. These are all of the tools that we talked about before. All right. And now I should be able to ask it questions like, list me all of the conferences that are going to be coming up for the rest of the year, which is what we're going to be doing right here. Doesn't matter if you can't spell or not like myself here. the LLM is there to save you for that. So it should infer what you're doing. But notice that to come back right here, it's thinking about it. It on the left-hand side, you can actually see it running, and it comes back and it gives you all of the conferences that are there. Now, I may ask who are going to be keynoting at the conference. Now, at ESPC, usually have a bunch of people that are keynoting. It's not just one keynote. They have a different keynote every day. Definitely Jeff Teeper is going to be one of them, but there's others. So you can see it comes back with the keynote people that are there as well too, and you can see the speed of it comes back as well too. And on the left-hand side, you can actually see some of the inputs that it's actually taken. Keynote here, limit of 10, conference string, and it has the data down here as well too. And I'm going to ask if there are any sessions around MCP. And I know that, Paolo, the dev advocate here, former MVP, had one as well too. And boom, it came up right there as well too. So in a nutshell, and I know I'm over, this is how long it took me to create this solution, to create this conference haven solution. And again, the key point here is that it is all about scaling the solution. So you want this to be something that you can build once and use many different places. And MCP is a great choice for that. Copilot Studio, and not only just Copilot Studio. I have another example here, and just forgive me, Vesa, I'm going to do one more thing real quickly, if you don't mind. I'm going to show you inside here. Escape. Inside here. Declarative agent. I have this solution here, which is a declarative agent, and this uses Agent Toolkit. So if you use Agent Toolkit as well to create DAs, which is a much more powerful, agent, because you have a lot more control over it, you can actually do the exact same thing with the exact same MCP server, and this is out here freely available for you to basically use. So if you're building your own solutions, around this, I encourage you to, think about MCP as you're building these solutions.